Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I'm going to be covering the weather for November 5th of 2023. Currently, we have a marginal threat for the Pacific Northwestern coast of the United States, for Northern California, and spanning the entire coast of Oregon. As for threats for today, we do have a 2% tornado threat with that marginal threat along the coast, as well as a 5% wind threat, but we don't really have all that much of a hail threat for today. But then let's take a look at our future outlooks. For our day 2 outlook, we currently don't have any forecasted areas for organized severe thunderstorms, but we could definitely see some general thunderstorms and some rain showers for some parts of Idaho there into Montana as well as Oregon, and then along the coast as well, and then as well as a area for Michigan there. And then for our day 3 outlook, we currently have no forecasted areas for severe thunderstorms or general thunderstorms. However, things are definitely expected to change between now and then, so definitely be watching out for updates on what could change with this outlook. Taking a look at our WBC outlook, starting off with our excessive rainfall outlooks. Currently, we have a marginal threat for flash flooding for Northern California and southwestern Oregon there. As for our future excessive rainfall outlooks, we do have a threat for flash flooding for some parts of the western coast for northern Oregon into Washington. And then as for our day 3 flash flooding outlook, we don't have a threat for flash flooding that is currently forecasted, but things are expected to change between now and then. Now let's take a look at our winter weather outlook. For our day 1 outlook, there's not really a lot. We are expected to see some snow back up into Canada, and we are expected to see some isolated areas in Idaho, Wyoming, maybe parts of Oregon and parts of Washington, as well as Northern California with some very, very, very tiny dots there. But overall, not a lot is really forecasted for heavy snow. Now let's take a look at our day 2 outlook. We definitely have a much better forecast for snow in terms of the areas that are going to be covered. We are expected to see a very large area for Canada here, where we could see very heavy snow, and then for the northwestern United States again, for Wyoming, central Idaho, as well as northern Idaho, Washington into Oregon, as well as some parts of California, can also see some heavy snow in some areas. And then as for our day 3 outlook, we are expected to see some snow for our day 3 outlook as well, with some areas back in the Pacific Northwest and some areas back up into Canada. Now let's take a look at our front analysis really quickly. Um, let's go to surface fronts. As of right now, there isn't really a lot going on in the Pacific Northwestern area. This cold front that you're currently seeing back 24 hours has already made its way on land. And then you can see the secluded front with this cold front attached to it back out in the Pacific Ocean. This is expected to move eastward over the next couple of hours and impact the coast of Oregon and California and trigger the threat for severe thunderstorms in that area. And then as for the cold front that was predicted to impact the Ohio River Valley last week into this week. That cold front is weakening over time. About 3 hours ago, it was definitely much more prominent. However, now it is kind of becoming a diffuse front here and kind of just fading away. This is expected to continue to kind of just break down over the next couple of hours. Shouldn't really do all that much. Should make things a little colder, but isn't expected to lead to a threat for severe thunderstorms. Taking a look at our weather models, starting off with our 500 millibars like we usually do, focusing on the marginal threat for the Pacific Northwestern coast. You can see the low pressure system that is kind of situated out in the Pacific here, off the screen of the current model. That is going to have that cold front advect eastward over the next couple of hours, as I was mentioning, and then that cold front should progress across the rest of the United States this week. But as for today, this trough should support the threat for severe thunderstorms with aid of that cold front. And overall, there's not really a lot going on with this trough as far as directional shear. However, there is definitely some veering of the winds that is going to be prominent in some areas. That could definitely be giving us some directional shear to support the threat of one or two brief tornadoes across this region. However, as far as instability to really support the threat of one or two brief tornadoes in this area, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to forecast. Taking a look at our composite reflectivity and when and where we are expected to see our severe thunderstorms for today, you can see that line of thunderstorms progressing along that cold front. Um, and then these thunderstorms are expected to impact the coastal areas of the Pacific Northwest and get into the affected area for today around 5 p.m. To 8 p.m. EST, which is going to, I think, be 3 hours behind. Please correct me if I am wrong on that. I'm not very good with time zones, especially when they're on the opposite side of the country. So I think that is going to be around 2 p.m. Around 2 p.m. to probably 5 p.m. For this area is when we are expected to see our severe thunderstorms impact this area. But again, please correct me in the comments if I am wrong. Overall, you can see, based off the composite reflectivity, we aren't expected to see any threat for any hail, as we are only seeing models get up to around 60 dBz. So again, we aren't expected to see any hail with this, but again, we are expected to see some spin up in the atmosphere and support the threat of one or two brief tornadoes, as well as the threat of some damaging winds with this line of storms as well. Taking a look at our dew points, focusing on the marginal threat area for the Pacific Northwestern coast, you can see that a ton of convection is expected to be out of be out ahead of that cold front as that cold front progresses eastward over the next couple of hours, with tons of convection off the coast in the Pacific Ocean, with some convection making its way ashore around around the very late hours of the afternoon into the early morning hours is what's currently forecasted for severe thunderstorms for this area. As far as dew points though, and how that's going to affect instability, our dew points out in the Pacific Ocean are going to be fairly moderate, with dew points are going to be getting into the 50s. However, ashore we are expected to see a significant decrease in our dew points, getting mostly into those mid 40s into upper 40s. That is definitely going to give us a little bit of instability. However, our instability isn't expected to be very strong with this, which is going to potentially inhibit our threat for severe thunderstorms for today. Taking a look at our temperature, I'm not really going to be tracking that cold front because we kind of know where it is. Um, Overall, we aren't expected to see a crazy amount of impacts from this cold front as it makes its way ashore initially. However, again, as I was mentioning previously, this cold front is expected to move across the rest of the United States this week, and that's going to be something that I'm going to be focusing on in the weekly overlook for today. But overall, it is going to be a little bit more chilly across this region, with temperatures that are going to be getting into the 60s and 50s, right around those temperatures where if you have a strong gust of wind, that's going to make it pretty chilly. So with those thunderstorms, it is probably going to be pretty chilly as far as the heat index. So that is probably going to be leading to a little bit more weaker instability across this region, as well as the amount of moisture that we have isn't really the best. So that's going to be leading to overall significantly weaker instability than what we would typically like to see with a 2% tornado threat. With K values are probably going to be staying around the triple digits, possibly getting into the 1000s. Taking a look at our widespread temperatures, I did switch to NAM 3 kilometer CONUS models so we can take a look at a little bit further ahead in the week than just one day. So we currently have a trough that is situated across the northern Rockies. It is a very weak trough, and we aren't expected to see any crazy impacts come out of that trough. However, we are expected to see a cold front attached to that trough that is expected to impact the northern half of the United States, mainly the northern Central Plains into the northern New England area. It isn't going to do a whole lot, but it is expected to make things a little bit more chilly across the areas that I mentioned, as well as the southern half of the United States has gotten pretty warm, and it is expected to stay that way until the second cold front that we are expected to see this week, um, with temperatures that are getting back up into the 80s and getting very close to the 90s in Texas again. So we are seeing a little bit more summer-like temperatures across some very deep parts of the South. So Hopefully, you guys should be getting a break from those very hot temperatures later on this week with that secondary cold front. But overall, that's really it as far as our widespread temperatures. Some areas could be seeing temperatures that are getting very close to the 30s, mainly across the northern central plains and northern Midwest, and possibly getting below freezing. And the same goes for the New England region as well. Taking a look at our instability, focusing on the marginal threat area for the Pacific Northwestern coast. You can see at the very beginning of the model run, we are expected to see mostly moderate instability, with Cape values are going to be getting up into those low 1000s and possibly the mid 1000s. But the instability that is expected to be along the coast where we are expected to see our severe thunderstorms is going to be definitely very weak, with instability that is going to be staying mainly in the triple digits, staying anywhere from the low triple digits into the mid triple digits, maybe getting into the upper triple digits in some locations. However, because of how weak our instability is, and what I did mention previously, is that our instability is probably going to inhibit our threat for severe thunderstorms a little bit across this region, making making this a very, very marginal threat for severe thunderstorms for today. The threat for tornadoes definitely isn't out of the window, but it is definitely going to be very, very weak, and we are expected to see some damaging winds with this as well. And then taking a look at our energy helicity index models, focusing on our 2% tornado threat for the Pacific Northwestern coast. As you can see, the instability that we are provided, culminated with the directional shear that we have, is going to be leading to a very, very minimal threat for tornadoes across this region, with very, very isolated and very weak energy helicity index readings out across the Pacific Ocean as well as on land. So that very weak instability is definitely going to be leading to a very weak threat for tornadoes across this region. But you can see some areas definitely have some energy helicity index readings and should support the threat of one or two brief tornadoes and the threat of some rotation in the atmosphere. So we are definitely expected to maybe see one or two brief tornadoes, even if the threat is very, very, very low. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. And if you live in any of the areas that I covered for today, please stay weather alert for the time being. And if you notice anything might have been wrong with this forecast, or you would like to make a suggestion, please feel free to leave a comment and I will read them. And hopefully I will be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast. Oh, and something that I did forget to mention is that two other channels that I highly suggest you check out. They are very good at what they do. Is Weather Watcher and One Nation Weather if you are interested in more weather content.